Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we are going to discuss the upcoming Mercury retrograde in Pisces, which doesn't start until February 26th. But Mercury has an extended 69 days in Pisces, beginning February 6th until April 15th. And over the course of this time, Mercury is going to be making some beneficial aspects to Jupiter in Cancer and the North Node in Pisces. So I'm discussing this topic early here, since I'm releasing this on February 2nd, but it's to give you a heads up on what's to come over the course of Mercury's retrograde and extended stay in Pisces. This is especially important because Mercury is in its fall in Pisces. And what that means is that Mercury is in one of the opposite signs that he's typically strong in. So Mercury is strong in Virgo, where Mercury is known for being in his exaltation. And so the opposite sign where he's exalted is the placement that he's in his fall. So Mercury being in Pisces for an extended amount of time here is going to be quite interesting in terms of how Mercury's strengths and capabilities aren't going to be as readily accessible and used. So we have this Mercury in Pisces journey that's actually wanting us to soften, release, exhale, and sink into more of what you're really feeling. And it's from that place that you're going to receive more guidance, understanding, and knowingness to support decision making. Again, it's not Mercury's typical process. In fact, it could even feel like it's difficult to find the right words, the correct sentence. Details and facts are more challenging to focus on. You could have more mental fog, especially when Mercury will be retrograde. And it's much more common to be misunderstood, misheard, misrepresented, and to experience miscommunications. This Mercury in Pisces is going to want escapism. It could be that there's too much going on. There's too much overwhelm, too many changes, too much happening, and we're seeking ways to regulate our nervous system through escapism. We're looking for something dreamy and softer to turn to where we can detach and disassociate. This is a very strong energy of not wanting to take on too much, perhaps even not desiring anything new, feeling like you're at capacity. And so there's going to be different waves of this that unfold during Mercury's journey in Pisces, but it's important to have the heads up because we're going to need to be clearer in our communications, in our conversations. It will be more essential than ever to ask clarifying questions, to ensure you heard something accurately or that you have the right details. This Mercury retrograde in Pisces can be really messy. It can even be heightened cancellations, no-shows, and forgetfulness. You can lose track of time much more easily with this Mercury in Pisces, especially during the retrograde. So we're going to have to intentionally ground in to what we need to do and take care of. Important tasks and priorities might take more time because of how you have to pull in the energy to focus more intentionally. So it could feel like there's more of a struggle to be grounded in the 3D practical tasks of your life. On the flip side, this is beautiful energy for going higher into your intuitive development, expanding the creative mind, using your imagination and channeling inspirations. You might feel guided to do more storytelling, spiritual teaching, healing arts. You might desire to create something that just feels whimsical and magical. You might find as well that you are seeking more time alone. And that is a strong theme of this Mercury in Pisces. Again, the full journey lasting 69 days, you might want more time to yourself to review, reconsider, re-examine. There can be a lot coming up from hindsight, from previous issues, previous situations, or energies that are actually looking for resolution now. And that is another strong theme of this Mercury and Pisces journey, is that you might feel guided to find new spiritual understandings around certain things in your life that you're seeking to close out and end. So this can definitely help with the big themes we've had in regards to Saturn and Neptune previously in Pisces, where here comes Mercury giving the mind the opportunity to find closure, put a period on the end of the sentence, digest more fully, even go deeper into what the spiritual lessons were or what karma was being closed out. There's a big focus on endings here, as well as setting yourself free, letting yourself off the hook so that you can move on and move forward. So that's going to be a big part of the Mercury and Pisces energy. Again, February 6th until April 15th. So no doubt we will keep discussing this over the next 2.5 months and go into more of what Mercury wants to bring into your awareness. Now, because Mercury in Pisces floats away and goes off into the other realms, Mercury, the messenger, actually wants to bring something back into your conscious awareness. And so this is where the dream messages become even stronger. And you might find that you're getting more downloads and understandings around other timelines, other experiences, perhaps even other events and circumstances in your life now, where your psychic abilities are expanding so that you're picking up more in other places that you're not physically at. Like you can overhear conversations, you can see things with your third eye chakra, and you're expanding claircognizance, clairvoyance, clairsentience. All of those senses are going to be much more alive. And we're going to have opportunities to integrate them more fully into our everyday awareness, so that we can continue to use this part of our energy field more often and more regularly. So let me give you some of the specifics here that are important to note about Mercury's extended time in Pisces. So as I said, Mercury enters Pisces on February 6th and is going to go all the way to 22 degrees of Pisces, where it stations retrograde February 26th at 22 degrees of Pisces. Then Mercury retrogrades back to 8 degrees of Pisces until March 21st, which is also the spring equinox. And I noticed something very important here about this Mercury retrograde. Mercury journeys back to 8 degrees of Pisces, and as it does so, it will then be conjunct the North Node in Pisces for an extended amount of time at 8 degrees of Pisces. So you want to find 8 degrees of Pisces in your chart, because Mercury is directing you into this area of yourself to hear something important, to be receptive to what you're meant to embrace and learn, as this Mercury will be conjunct that North Node at 8 degrees, March 17th until March 24th. And I feel like that is the purpose of this Mercury retrograde in Pisces. In fact, it's going to be bringing you what you previously missed or didn't fully understand. It's almost like there's something essential here that Mercury is directing our attention to around that spring equinox. So again, 8 degrees of Pisces is a very important point here. So I want to give you a heads up about that, especially if that is significant in your chart. Now, Mercury is going to be conjunct the North Node 2 times. Conjunct the North Node when Mercury's direct. That happens on February 12th at 9 degrees of Pisces. So there's going to be something coming through, again, around February 12th that is important for your awareness, your growth, your next steps, and what you're receiving from your higher self. Now, that North Node in Pisces is assisting us on our spiritual path. It's showing you how you're trusting your own process more, how you're opening up to your spiritual gifts, how you're listening to the frequency of your soul's messages. Pisces is also where we understand the spiritual significance of certain lessons, chapters, and experiences so that you can obtain more spiritual mastery that you then take forward into the next chapters. Mercury is then bringing a message here to the North Node that is very important, and again will be revisited in March. So the first conjunction of Mercury to the North Node on February 12th is an important period of time to look at what is presented in your world, what comes through that is significant, what is grabbing your attention, what are you thinking about, what are you processing, what are you looking to say or express. Essentially, how you use Mercury is going to be very strong on February 12th, and then again in March when Mercury stations direct, conjunct that North Node at 8 degrees of Pisces. So this is an important area of your chart, okay? 8 and 9 degrees of Pisces. So that is one of the big themes of this Mercury retrograde and what Mercury is guiding us through. Then the second big theme that's presented is how Mercury in Pisces is going to trine Jupiter in Cancer 3 times, always at 15 degrees. So 15 degrees of Pisces and 15 degrees of Cancer is where a trine is occurring between this Mercury and Jupiter, both in water signs, bringing about new emotional insights that you've been working through, digesting, feeling, and now seeing a bigger picture, seeing a more expansive understanding of what the lessons have been around emotional core wounds, anything from your past, anything from your internal world that's been speaking loudly. Jupiter is retrograde in Cancer until March 10th, and this Jupiter stations direct at 15 degrees of Cancer. And so as Jupiter does so, there is this ongoing trine with Mercury also in that direct retrograde direct dance. And so they are connecting here on an emotional frequency, supporting each other and giving you some healing insights, reassurance, clearing energy as well. You might feel that things are clearing away from the past at a significant core level. You might find that you have turned a page, entered a new emotional timeline, and a new sense of what you need to feel fulfilled. Jupiter in Cancer goes into previous timelines to access what resides there, often unconsciously, that may be affecting or playing into your current physical reality or your current everyday experiences. This is where Jupiter says, aha, let's learn from this. Let's look at what occurred back then. Let's check out how that made you feel or what came up for you and determine if it's still your truth. And that's always something that Jupiter is seeking. What is my current truth? Because your truth evolves and grows as you do. And Jupiter always loves a good growth spurt, always wants us to learn more and understand things in a broader way. And so I feel that this particular Mercury retrograde is going to bring about closure. Some beautiful endings, meaning you might finally understand, oh, that's what that was about in my life or in my soul's journey. There could be some peaceful messages that arrive with this trine. There could be some energies softening within you that are bringing about greater self-forgiveness, self-compassion, and self-love. As I say that, I'm feeling the energies of Kuan Yin being strongly present during this particular Mercury retrograde and the trine to Jupiter in Cancer at 15 degrees. There could be the turning of a page here where you set yourself free You accept the past is the past and that those were beautiful experiences and lessons, but you can also see the blessings in them. And this is coming right from the heart space. There is powerful, loving energies here that are very wise. It's like the heart's wisdom is going to be beautifully felt. And I'm actually seeing a vault in the heart. So the question is, what do you feel your heart vault is holding based on your emotional experiences that have formed connections, love, trust, safety, vulnerability, and security with others? Because we are meant to connect in healthy, loving ways with each other. And there could be some messages arising here where you're seeing what has evolved within you. You're even maybe more willing to venture into that heart vault that can be locked down out of a need for privacy, safety, or security. That's part of how Cancer energy works. So Jupiter in Cancer has been asking you to open up more, to soften into yourself in deeper, kinder ways. I also am feeling like it's a good reminder that we're meant to care for each other. We're meant to have compassion for one another as brothers and sisters on this planet. And that if we have detached from that too much, then we lose our ability or that muscle to trust and respect other humans. And so there could be something that's realigning here during this particular journey of Mercury retrograde and Pisces, where we're going to be reestablishing clear choices around our priorities, values, and needs with each other. And that the past no longer determines that, because this Jupiter in Cancer has wanted to clear out any of those old unconscious imprints that you've been holding or carrying. Now, I did do a separate podcast episode for you on this Jupiter in Cancer, and it was called Strong Enough to Soften. That was released back on November 17th. And that episode also goes into ancestral roots, maternal lineage, the tender places within you that are meant to be soft. They're meant to be more tender. And you could apply this to the physical body, but also to the heart, empathy, compassion, sweetness, very loving, kind energies. And there could be some themes coming up here around those parts of yourself that have hardened or developed tough edges. Maybe they've been shut down. Maybe they've been closed off. Maybe they've been locked away in the heart's vault. But it feels like this Mercury is meant to connect us with more of those softer messages and to allow us to feel into those parts of ourselves. There's a lot of emotional energy flowing with these ongoing trines to Jupiter. So there's 3 dates that Mercury in Pisces will be trining Jupiter in Cancer at 15 degrees. The first will be February 15th. Mercury is direct, Jupiter is retrograde. Then March 8th, when both planets are retrograde at 15 degrees. Then April 3rd, when both planets are direct at 15 degrees. So there's going to be some ongoing layers here, layers of messages and emotions, layers of understanding. And the more you can flow with it, which is the strength of the water element, the more you can flow into what is arising, not trying to shut it down or block it, not trying to overthink it. This is a time of opening up into non-linear communications and the ability to be receptive, to simply receive what's coming in and welcome it. The more you welcome the messages of this time, the more you're going to have deeper insights into what you're meant to know and understand. Now, this can also bring up areas of life that need healing, where there is grief that can be triggered and arise. Old emotional stories can be quite present. It can also reveal anything from the past that's looking for healing and resolution. So unfinished conversations, karmic patterns, spiritual contracts, anything that's still like circling in the mind and it feels like, what do I do with this? How do I close this out? Especially in a loving, kind way. And you could even find that there's things you can no longer avoid or escape because of this extended time period of Mercury in Pisces. It's almost like the universe is saying, we've got to end this. We've got to make sure you're learning, growing, and evolving from this. So there's a level of courage here that's required. And part of that is honoring where you need to retract into your own space, where you might seek out more sacred space, more quiet time, more meditation time. Maybe you find yourself doing some more journaling or body work to release anything that's flowing through. Maybe you're finding you need some kind of creative outlet or something you can do on your own terms. This is also the energy of silence. And just think about how difficult it is to find silence in a loud, crazy world right now. Last July, I did a silent retreat for the first time. It was for a long weekend up at the Kripalu Center in Western Massachusetts. And it was so beautiful and exquisite up there. And it was also such a gift to get into that energy of silence and meditation. We wore lanyards around our neck that simply said that we were in silence to let people know we weren't speaking, which was good when we were just on campus or if you're in the dining hall getting food, then people understand to honor your practice of silence. We did different types of meditation that I loved. And honestly, sometimes I was good at it and sometimes I wasn't. It definitely is something you train for and practice, but I would do it again because I loved that experience of focusing on an extended period of time of not only settling the mind, settling the body, settling your energy field, and focusing in on what needs to arise, what needs to come to life within you that you wouldn't normally hear. And that could be a gift you give yourself over the span of these weeks of Mercury and Pisces, is simply inviting in, what do I need to hear that I haven't been able to receive? What is desiring to come alive and awake within me that I can only connect to when my energy is quiet and my mind is open to it? There are even studies that have shown that sitting in silence for just 2 hours is really beneficial for your brain, as it allows for new brain cells to develop and grow, especially in the hippocampus. It also can lower cortisol levels, give the brain neural networks time to rest and repair, help with enhanced focus, better emotional regulation, and provide an energetic reset. Now, obviously, not everyone can do extended periods of silence, but even just having a practice or something intentional, maybe before you go to sleep or during a lunch break or after work, when you're commuting home and you just don't turn on the radio or you just don't put in your AirPods. This could be something that has some long-term benefits and is beautifully supported during this particular Mercury in Pisces journey. But of course, you should always keep listening to astrology podcasts, so don't put those on silence. Essentially, this upcoming Mercury journey is going to support us in hearing ourselves, like really hearing the body, hearing the mind, hearing your heart, hearing your energy, and allow you to then move intuitively in ways that guide you into more health, more creativity, more of a reset, and even into more of your own calming abilities. There's definitely a softening with this Mercury. And that's why I wanted to get this topic out to you earlier than not, because that can require preparation and intention, where if we're going to practice being in more silence or just simply allowing ourselves to hear our own wisdom, then we have to find time and space to do so. So simply sharing that as an intention for what Mercury and Pisces will be guiding you to, as well as bringing to your awareness to close out, forgive, let go, and release. This is also beautiful energy for any kinds of forgiveness rituals and practices that set you free. And one that I always think of is the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is 4 simple statements. And it's simply repeating those 4 statements that shifts the energy and allows you to clear any negative subconscious memories or energies that are holding you back, especially emotional energies. So you simply say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. That's it. And they say it's an important ritual to do with yourself in the mirror. Saying those 4 lines to yourself in the mirror can beautifully support your energy and anything you've been carrying or holding, especially against yourself. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. You can also do that with another person, anyone that you're having a struggle with, feeling any anger or contentious energy. In fact, the origination of this prayer was that it was a way to create reconciliation, restoration, and harmony on different islands in order to foster better relations between everyone in the community. I believe it's traced back to Hawaii, but it might even go back to some other Polynesian cultures and islands. And it is a practice that was traditionally facilitated by an elder or spiritual healer in order to repair issues within families, neighbors, businesses. It was simply a way to bring people together as well to create more forgiveness and release. And it's my understanding that it also was intended to clear any kind of energetic imbalance in life force, as well as with the cosmos or the land, the trees, the flowers, the resources. So not just between people, but between all forms of consciousness. So again, that's called Ho'oponopono. And it is a simple but effective practice for healing anything that you're looking to energetically shift, release, and balance. Overall, this Mercury and Pisces journey is going to be softer, and there are no intense aspects that are occurring with the outer planets. Mercury only interacts with Jupiter in Cancer by trine, and then of course that North Node in Pisces. So as we reach the Spring Equinox, which is, of course, a time of beginnings, renewal, new starts, fresh burst of energy to move forward, this Mercury will be conjunct that North Node in Pisces, and there will be important messages for us to hear, integrate, and trust. So I will discuss that more as we get closer to the spring equinox. We've got some time, right? Since it's just the beginning of February as I record this, but I wanted to give you a heads up on what to be aware of in your own journey. Mercury in Pisces whispers. It's going to be giving you softer messages, perhaps confusing messages. You know those dreams where you wake up and you're like, what was that about? I know it meant something, but now I have to decipher it. Well, one of the best things you can do is go with the feeling of the dream. That can often be the main message. What were you feeling? What were you sensing? What was happening that was bringing you into a particular emotion? And so that will be also how Mercury and Pisces will be working with us and supporting our growth into more spiritually evolved beings. So as always, thank you so much for joining me for today's show. Oh, I should mention that I have a program on the nodes of fate that discusses this North Node in Pisces. And so now the North Node is in the first decan of Pisces, moving retrograde. and will stay here until the end of July. So from now until the end of July, that North Node in Pisces may be really important for you, especially if you have any planets or points in Pisces or Virgo from 0 to 9 degrees. 0 to 9 degrees, you have some essential soul growth energies in play here. And that node of fate is asking you to move towards more of your destiny and what is fated for you next, while you are releasing and closing out what the Virgo energies have already fulfilled. So I wanted to mention that because that program is on sale right now for $25. And it discusses more of the specifics of the North Node and the South Node. And this is also a big deal for those of you born in the 1960s, if you have any of the outer planets in the early degrees of Virgo and or Pisces. Because in the 60s, there was Pluto and Uranus in Virgo, and then there was Saturn and Chiron in Pisces. So this is a very important time for you. And again, if you have planets or points from 0 to 9 degrees of Virgo and Pisces, this is where the next 6 months are setting you on a new life path, setting you free from previous habits and routines, opening you up to a new way of life, and could be showing you something that you've already been feeling and sensing. And it only happens once every 19 years. So it is a big deal. So that's why I wanted to mention that about the Nodes of Fate course. I'll put details below the podcast if that is something you want to dive into and check out for yourself. As always, wishing you a beautiful day ahead, and thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back with a new episode every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I look forward to continuing our astrology conversation together. Take good care, and I'll see you back here soon.